Hello, hello, hello. Thank you and welcome back. We have now made it to step 3 of our top 5 steps when taking over a troubled apartment complex. We'll do a quick review. Step 1, know the lay of the land. That's when you're going to take your exterior tour of the community with your maintenance supervisor or longest standing maintenance tech. And then we have step 2, where you're going to visit your vacants. That's to visit the interior of the buildings and the vacant apartments with your assistant manager or longest standing leasing consultant. So let's move into step 3. This is where we begin to pull everything together. So for step 3, we are going to compile our information that we gathered from steps 1 and 2, and we are going to add to that our rent roll. We want to see the tenant pay history, who's delinquent, who's late. So remember, information from step 1, information from step 2, and we will now add in our rent roll. So let's take a look at the information that's in front of us. We are going to look at the information that we got from our interior, exterior, and our rent roll. We want to see who's late with rent. This exclamation point in the middle would be a list of apartments that show up on all 3 lists. Example. If you went inside the building and this person may have had a bag of trash or 2 sitting in front of the door, or they have a filthy front door. On an exterior list, maybe it falls on a building that had some loiterers outside, or it falls in a building that goes to a dumpster that's extra trashy. And they also show up on your late list. So hopefully this list is very, very small of people who come up on all 3 lists. We are going to need them to pick a struggle. We do not want your apartment to show up on all 3 lists. So this exclamation point here are a list of apartments that show up on all 3 lists, and they are your primary targets. The next bit of information you want to look at is who's coming up on 2 of the lists. So if they're on your interior and exterior, your interior and delinquent, your exterior and delinquent, you want to make a list of who's showing up on both of those. This would be considered your secondary target list. Next would be your list of apartments that show up on a single list. They only came up on your interior, your exterior, or your delinquent. This is what I like to call your blanket list. You don't necessarily make a formal list of this. You don't really need to make a formal list of this, because if they've shown up on one list, specifically the interior or the exterior, this should be an easy fix that can be taken care of with a blanket letter to the building or the floor or however the community is set up. As far as the delinquent list, that's a different situation. We could get to that when we have a lecture on how to clean up delinquents. Delinquents are important because you need to make money for the community. You're there to bring in money. You need to fill the squares and bring in money. And if people are living there rent-free, you're not doing your job and you're not bringing in money for the community. And fixing delinquents will not be addressed in this particular lecture. Just know that it does fall under the blanket list. So we're looking for ones that show up only on interior, only on exterior, and only on delinquent. So keep that in mind. You don't need to make a formal list of this, because right now we need to focus on our primary and secondary targets. Everybody with me? Okay, good. So quick review. Step 3, you are compiling information. You're compiling information from the information you've gathered from your exterior tour. You're compiling the information that you've gathered from your interior tour. You are adding to that your rent roll. You are going to place all of them together, and you are going to create 2 physical lists and sort of 1 mental list. So that physical list would include anyone that shows up on your primary target list, which would be your interior, your exterior, and your delinquent. Anyone that shows up on all 3, that's your primary target list. Your secondary target list is anyone that shows up on any 2 of those lists. And then your blanket list, which you don't technically have to make a list for that yet. That's anyone that shows up on an individual list, whether it only came up on your interior, your exterior, or your delinquent. Again, the interior and exterior, if they show up on one list, can typically be taken care of with a blanket notice to the building or the floor. And when it comes to the delinquents, that's another lecture on how to clean up delinquents. But it's very important that you take care of the delinquent list. So what we're going to do at this point, you're going to go out, you're going to create your list, and then we will return for step 4.